regular sew-in will never go out of style. Stay tuned if you want to see how I was able to achieve this lovely natural ponytail with a traditional install. So of course, every good service starts with a great shampoo and condition. I love using the steam because it allows the product to really make its way through the hair shaft. This is a sped up version, so I am not being super rough on her scalp. Believe me, it's a very relaxing experience, and I just try to make sure that I take good care of the hair and be as gentle as possible. Always comb from the ends and work your way up when detangling with the conditioner, and I just really like to make sure that I get a good massage on the scalp. And also, before blow drying and sectioning off, I like to use a nice moisturizing detangling spray. It is a leave-in conditioner, and it just makes the hair feel so good and so soft. And you just really want to always make sure to prep the hair prior to doing the braids for your sew-in. 4 sections is pretty standard, but it also depends on the density of your client's hair. And so to start off the blow dry, I always do a nice power dry over all of the sections before I take them out individually and use my comb attachment for the brush. Again, this is sped up. I am not that rough. And so now we'll begin the process of the install. I am sectioning off according to her density once again, because that will allow you to determine how much hair needs to be left out in order to adequately cover the tracks. Now, the way that I do sew, the method in which I sew, you likely will not see any braids, but you still want to make sure that it matches your client's density, because the last thing you want to do is not leave out enough and it not be able to cover. So as you can see, according to her density, this is how much I was able to leave out before braiding. And I don't know whether it's because I'm a millennial and the times that I grew up in a shop, but I'm gonna grease that scalp, okay? I'm gonna grease that scalp before every install. I mean, it just makes the hair feel great. The scalp feels nice and moisturized. There's no itching. So that's just what I do, and the majority of my clients do not have a problem with that. And now we begin the braid pattern for the install, and I can't stress enough, you always do things according to the density of your client's hair. So her braids will not be super small because her hair is a bit more fine, and sometimes when you have super tiny braids, that can actually cause a little bit it can do more harm than good, and it can cause more breakage than necessary. So I do start off with a pretty small braid. However, the remaining braids will be about medium size, and that's because I don't want too much tension on her hair when I start to sew. So I don't want it to be, you know, where it's just too much weight on her hair. Although the bundles are always very light, but you just have to braid according to the density. I really hope that makes sense, but that is how I'm able to grow my client's hair, because I truly tailor the braids and the foundation to each individual client. Not every client gets the same braid pattern, and it's all very specific to the client's needs and their hair health as well as their density. For this install, we'll be using Curlsqueen's 18-inch light Yaki bundles. This will be about 300 grams of hair, and in the box comes a brush and a bonnet, as well as the bundles, of course. Here I am showing the texture, and as you can see, it has very full ends, which I love. And 2 bundles is all you need because it is equivalent to 3 to 4 bundles of others on the market. This particular client likes a net, so that is what I added, and her braids are very flat and ready for the install. For the first track, I sew it underneath the braid, and I like to kind of have it curved on each side of the head. That way I am able to double up the tracks in between so that we can have a little bit more fullness. And I don't cut every track, but I only cut when necessary because I don't want to add any extra tension to the client's hair, and also so that the install remains as flat as possible. But here I will be sewing the tracks in between up until we get to the top where that track stops. So as you can see right here, I doubled the wefts, and I sewed all the way up until where that first track stopped. And for the bundle underneath, I will be curving it and cutting the track right there at the corner. With the remaining weft, I will be continuing to go across until we get to the other side, and I have to also add the track in the corner. So what we'll be doing is mirroring each side, and as you can see here, I'm doubling that weft because, like I said, I want to be able to add the fullness. And her head was not big at all, so I'm trying to make sure that we get a nice fullness while also keeping it nice and natural, because we don't want it boxy, and she wanted a very natural look. So essentially I'm just going to keep going across and across until we hit the time where it is time for me to cut the wefts at each corner. You always want the tracks to be going towards the face, but not too much to where it won't be able to be pulled back, just enough so that all the tracks in the braids will always be covered. Here we will be doing one final track to cut, and it'll be from the top corner to the other top corner, and I'm doing a single track for that because I want it to stay as flat as possible as we move our way up to the top. And after we do that, we will then go in again with the double weft, and I will be sewing across up until we get to the very top. And once we reach the top, you want to ensure that that bundle is laying as flat as possible, and that will also be a single weft. As stated in the beginning of the video, you should not be able to see any braids or any tracks even before the natural hair covers it up. That's how you know you've done a really great install and that it will definitely cover the tracks, meaning your natural hair. Now this sizzling is coming from the heat protectant. I did not show me spraying it, but trust me and be assured that there was heat protectant that was being used, and that's why that smoke is being emitted off of the flat iron. Look at how flat and natural that is. It is just so gorgeous. I do multiple ponytail checks before styling because I want to make sure that it's very easy for my clients to be able to pull up their hair, and I just love that it looks so natural without having to leave out a lot of hair. I think people believe that you have to have like K-tips or tape-ins, and there's nothing wrong with those, but you really don't need it just to achieve a natural look. So here I am just adding some long face framing layers just so it can match her natural hair, and we kept this styling nice and natural because that's the look that she was going for. And I believe these Curlsqueen bundles was just perfect for her natural hair, and it just looks like it's growing out of her scalp.